How's it going, guys and gals? My name is Sergeant Beckett, and welcome back to another Sergeant Beckett Reacts video. Today's Sergeant Beckett Reacts video, we are going back to the world of Jubilee and the realms of Middle Ground. Today's Middle Ground video is one that is... I don't know how to describe it, actually, to be honest. Today's video is, can astrologists and astronomers see eye to eye? Now, I did a bit of research prior to this video about the two ones, because I couldn't remember. I don't know what the astronomy one was, which I know is just basically the just looking up into space and looking at like different planets and different things in space. And then astrology is the one, obviously, where you look at like the stars in the sky and how they make different signs and stuff. And then obviously you got like the whole zodiac thing. Now, on this term, I'd be on the side of the astronomers. I have a friend who I don't know if she believes in it, but I know she looks into a lot of the time astrology. I know she definitely looks into that stuff a lot of the time. I don't believe it personally. I don't believe that certain formations of stars in the sky mean something about you as a person. And if they do, I'd say it's just coincidence that that's what happens. But I'm more on the astronomer's side. Yeah. With that intro, let's get into this.
I have science to prove why I believe what I believe. It's just astrology has not led me wrong.
Is there a way you can tell if you're wrong or right?
Well, yeah, because
astrology?
I speak to my clients.
I'm Ian. I'm an adventure astronomer and astrophotographer. What I love about astronomy is sharing the passion of the stars with people. I question science all the time. That's the whole point about science.
When I hear of astrologers, I think of people who kind of need guidance. Astrology is not a science. Science is something that requires proof, something that you can reproduce.
I think astrology is just a belief system, and I don't think it makes sense. It's not really a science. I honestly believe that astrology just makes people happy.
Hi, my name is Trenton. I am a spiritual analyst. I definitely believe astrology is a science. We have discovered so much about the metaphysics of things and energies that are hidden.
I think my study benefits people because the greatest gift that you can give someone is self-knowledge. It gives us our own little map of ourselves.
I believe that zodiac signs are totally relevant, but they're just a basis of a much deeper practice. They're the tip of the iceberg.
Step forward if you agree. Astrology is a sham.
You can believe whatever you want to believe in, as long as, you know, it makes you happy, doesn't hurt others. But personally, I've just never really understood how, especially since we all study stars, how something that's so far away and that could potentially be gone could affect you when you were born. It just doesn't make sense to me scientifically.
One of the things that they don't account for, astrologers, is as time passes by, there's this thing called precession where the Earth's axis actually makes like a rotation. And these constellations were set like 2,000 years ago, and they still...
Precession is a change in the orientation of the rotational axis of a rotating body. Earth goes around one such complete precessional cycle in a period of approximately 26,000 years. It's a long time.
Assume that these are the ones that are where the sun is when you are born. And also, you can't split them apart equally because each constellation has different sizes. You don't have the sun in one for 30 days. You just don't do that. And look, let's be honest, you can't divide people into these neat categories. There's almost 8 billion people on this planet. You're going to tell me that there's only 13 categories of what we are?
Exactly. It doesn't make sense.
Right. I think sham is kind of it's a negative word, but from a scientific standpoint, we don't see that there's evidence that we can't make predictions on people's lives based on the positions of the stars.
Can the disagreeers come forward?
I practice Western tropical astrology. And so the tropical system of astrology goes off of the equinoxes and the solstice. It has nothing to do with the constellations, what you know of astrology in the Western world.
I'm also specialized in tropical astrology, and that's just one system in astrology, right? There's tropical and sidereal. Those are the two systems, and they're separate.
I didn't even know there were two. I thought astrology was just one thing. Yikes.
By 23.4 degrees. It all depends on what system works for you.
So does that mean you have like a choice, or you see what everything means and you're like, okay, I want to pick that one, I want to study that one?
It's based off of what really resonates, right? And you'll know what resonates with you. You'll get this inner feeling through your chakral system, and you'll know right away.
Whether you resonate with Vedic astrology or Western astrology depends on whether you're more interested on using astrology for predictions or whether you're more interested on using astrology to understand yourself and validate and affirm the things that you feel in yourself.
You say astrology, meaning that the stars do matter, right? So what part do stars play in Western tropical astrology?
It's not so much being born around the time that the constellation is in a certain place in the sky. You have this chart wheel, and
A birth chart is a snapshot of the sky at the moment of your birth. It reveals the precise location of each of the planets and which constellation they occupied as you enter the world.
it's divided equally in 12 parts. So the rising would be dependent on that wheel, what sign, and not constellation, but what sign, depending on the tropical divisions, is on the eastern horizon. Then the rising is the first house, or it's the cusp of the first house, and there's 12 houses.
What does that mean? Because I hear that, and again, I'm not familiar with it. It just kind of sounds like a lot of
Gibberish.
gibberish.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you think of a clock, the hands pointing to the numbers is not time. They just represent time. So it's the same when you think of the stars. The planets, where they are in the chart, are not the energies that we're looking at. They're just representations of those energies. It's just the realm of possibilities that the way that you express action in your life could show up.
When we categorize different planets in astrology, it's just to give characteristics on the specific energies. To touch on a point that you brought up, like how can we be here and planets all the way out there, how are they affecting us? Energy cannot be created or destroyed, right? We all heard that in our science classes growing up. So we're all bits and pieces.
That's not necessarily true. This is like essentially you're talking about like kind of conservation of energy and stuff like that, right? But like we live in a universe that, for example, may be infinite.
Yeah.
We don't know. And we never can, because we're limited to a specific distance to how far we can see.
I guess what I was getting to is we're all bits and pieces of energy. So everything that exists in our universe is energy,
I
right?
think that we're getting confused with our definitions of energy. I think that's where the, like we have a different definition of, like more scientific definition of energy, and you guys have more of a,
It's yeah,
like a personality, like spiritual, yeah, like that, like
Yeah,
a
I think there's
spiritual thing.
for science, like they have to be very careful about how they use the term energy, because a lot of the times it can get hijacked, or even delving in the world of like quantum physics, they use the word quantum in a way that it's not supposed to be represented as.
My beliefs are supported by science.
So you guys are probably like,
Yeah, I mean, I'm a firm believer in science. Yeah, so basically, yes.
astrology is not a science, but it is, because it's its own separate field. Astrology has been a practice that has been used for civilizations.
What is a science to you? What does science mean to you?
Now, a science is anything that can be applied to the practical realm. I know we were saying a lot of talk about, oh, this is interpretive, or this could be used for predictive measures, but it is something that is practical, right? I have to use math and I have to use other basic science skills in order to pull up a chart. I'm looking at degree placement, right?
I think that fields could use science and still not be science. You could use math and science and it still not be a science. I think
So
science
what's
comes
your
with,
degree? I'm sorry,
of
what's
science.
your definition of science?
I think science comes with fact. There's a scientific method, so you start with a theory and then you prove it at the end. Say we randomly discover a new planet in our solar system,
sure.
okay? Will it change what you guys
Absolutely,
believe?
because that would be something that we'd have to sit and try to study. We'd have to conduct research on that planet, just as well as you guys would have to do. You guys would just be applying it in a different way. So I definitely look at our field as a science.
Are my beliefs backed by science? No, they're not. In fact, it's the opposite. Most scientists would say that I'm crazy. Do I believe that astrology is a type of science, a soft science? Yes, because I study psychology, I study therapy. There are people who say that therapy and psychology are not sciences. I also think that psychology and therapy are soft sciences. They're not rooted in the scientific method. They are rooted more in the person, in who that person is, in the potential of that human being, and their energies.
But there's a difference there because in psychology, we could scan the brain and see the chemical imbalances. We could see what's missing. We could see the neurons firing. We could see exactly why things are happening, and we could prove that. So,
But you can't
But
always
we
prove
can-
the treatment.
But we can also
The
look at a
treatment can't always be
chart.
proven.
We can also look at a chart and look at how the energies are interacting with a person and correlate it to what is on the chart.
I think energies and like neurons.
And
and things
I
like
know
that
I
are
keep
different.
using
Yeah.
energies, and that's also what I'm trying to say. Somebody had to be like, why is that energy affecting me in this way? Somebody had to sit and study these things. A team had to do research on these things.
I don't have science to prove why I believe what I believe. It's just, I've been studying this for 7 years and I've been practicing professionally for 4 years. And astrology has not led me wrong. Like, I don't miss.
Is there a way you can tell if you're wrong or right?
Well, yeah,
in
because
astrology?
I speak to my clients. I never tell my clients, like, this definitely happened for you, and if you don't agree, then you're wrong. I'll say, oh, this could be an indication of this. Is this true? And they'll say yes, or if they say no, I'll say, well, maybe it can be interpreted in this different way. That's also where the interpretive thing comes in, is that it doesn't play out the exact same every time, which is why it can't be pinned down by
And that's
science.
why you can't call it a science, because
Yeah.
it's not reproducible. Science is something that is rigorously tested, and it's stuff that's reproducible. You have to be able to reproduce results. What astrology is interpretive. So you might misinterpret things because it's not really reproducible. Like, you're not gonna always get somebody right. The reason why I didn't step forward for this prompt was because I think it's irrelevant. Like, I think beliefs are different than facts, and I might really believe in God, for example. I might, right? And that's not backed by science.
Science is science, right? So it doesn't matter if I believe astronomy. It doesn't matter what I believe. It just is or isn't.
Celestial objects influence people's mood.
My first thought was to go no, they don't. But depending on how you look at it, I don't know if they're gonna go in this particular way. My thought process was, if someone is getting rather warm or someone is like overheated, they can obviously get very angry and very like annoyed and stuff. It's hot and bothered. And obviously, if it's quite a warm day because of the sun, then that could, yeah. But that might be me being too literal. I'm gonna say I don't know. I'll wait to see what. I'm gonna see what these. I'm gonna see what these guys say.
I mean, if I'm driving home, maybe I had a bad day and I see the moon coming up. It's so beautiful. Like, how can that not affect your mood, right? It's just so gorgeous.
Actually, that's a good point. Yeah. Referencing a video I recorded literally like a couple of minutes ago. If you remember, whenever I upload it, if you guys have seen my reaction to Middle Ground's is masculinity disappearing in America, I talked about how I'm not one that displays emotion that often, or at least I don't like get very emotional. The one time it does happen is, for example, the moon, and I'm looking at the moon, because what happens when I do that, or just in space in general, if it's like a really clear night and you can see, just all the stars, and if I look up at that, I look at the moon, I just look at it and I go, that's a planet in space. That's in space. That's floating out there right now, in the vastness of space. It's just floating there, and I start to get a bit emotional about that, because I start thinking about just space and the possibilities of it all. And it's the same for if I didn't even know look at the moon, if I'm looking up into like a night sky, I just think that is space out there. That is the universe which I'm looking into, which is fucking beautiful. And I had a moment this year, August bank holiday. I was at a Still Not event, at the Edge Hill event, and one of the people there, one of the members of the regiment, had a bird watching telescope, but he was using it to look at some of the stars. I've never seen Jupiter before. I've never seen Jupiter or all the rings. And I looked at it and I was just mesmerized. It looked so amazing and beautiful and awesome. And I could have stood there for hours just looking at it. The thing is, there wasn't even much to look at. All it was, because I mean, it wasn't actually like an actual space telescope. So it was literally just it wasn't an actual space telescope. It was just it was just like a standard like bird telescope. So all you could really see was like the Jupiter, which was like just completely like bright. It was just like Jupiter was completely white, obviously light from the sun. And you could see the dots of Jupiter's moons and stuff as just white dots, and you could see the rings. But even that was just the fact that was just Jupiter was just amazing. And I could go on about this, because honestly, you don't want me to get onto the conversation about space, because I will go on for ages, but about the same things, because yeah, I'm gonna stop there and I'm gonna continue on with the video. But yeah, so in that sense, I'm gonna go yes to that statement. Yes.
I do a lot of astronomy outreach. You know, I show people the planets or the moon through telescopes. Or total solar eclipse that we've seen, we were all like in tears. It was just so beautiful. So yes, definitely things that happen up there can affect.
You know how the moons affect bodies of water, right? The closer the moon is, the higher the waves are. The farther away it is, the lower the waves are, right? That's why we have tides, kind of, sort of, right? But we're made up of 70% water. The moon in astrology talks about our intuition, our feelings, our emotions. There are so many other planets and celestial bodies that are definitely doing that. So I'm so happy that you said yes, because it is definitely true.
I'd love to know what you think about the correlation between the 28-day cycle of the moon and the female hormonal cycle.
There must be something there. I'm not an evolutionary biologist, so I don't really know.
Yeah, I'm a Cancer rising, so I feel the moon, and I know from personal experience that, yeah, planets affect the moon. The moon, and I know from, I'm a Cancer rising, so I feel the moon, and I know from personal experience that, yeah, planets affect the moon.
I mean, that's also just educational purposes. I mean, we talk about gravity, and the moon and Earth act on each other's gravity, so yeah.
I'll have to say I really liked your interpretation of that. Because, you know, the moment that you stepped up, I was like, okay, I know what's coming. I know what it is, because I do agree on that. I mean, look, Mars is really far away. What is Mars gonna do, like, you know, to my mood? It just doesn't. Even the gravitational force that we experience between planets that are further away, it's really nothing.
Can I ask what makes you say that with such certainty?
Because I do physics, and so I
Yeah,
know
yeah.
how gravity, like the force of gravity works.
Sure, but we have plenty of anecdotal, I guess you could say, evidence.
Well, the thing is, if you believe something, right? Mm-hmm. You already believe it. And then the thing that I really have to mention this, like the thing that you mentioned about the correlation between like women's periods and the moon is moving away from us. So eventually it's not going to orbit in the same
Right.
in the same way. And so what then?
I think there's a big thing right now that we're using between correlation and causation. I think that's another big divide that we're seeing right now. Like when people are like in a mood or like they're really happy and they go outside, they're like, oh, there's Mars or the moon is full or whatever. That doesn't make sense to me, where people can kind of not blame their behavior but associate it with what's happening. Like, there's a correlation, but we can't see the causation of it.
Right.
So
And I
that's
guess
the
that
problem.
goes back to my my argument that I posed earlier about how energetically things are affecting us. We're affected by this energy, even if it's so many light years away or if it's right here in front of us, right?
Okay. Now, what if I were to tell you that, let's say, you know, Betelgeuse is what is it, like 400 light years away, 600 light years away?
Before I looked at that, the thing that popped up, I thought she meant she talked about Beetlejuices and an actual juice from beetles. But no, Betelgeuse is usually the 10th brightest star in the night sky, and after Rigel, the second brightest in the constellation of Orion. Betelgeuse is one of the largest stars visible to the naked eye.
If we saw Betelgeuse go supernova, right? Some astrologers might say, "Oh my gosh, that's you know affecting us." That happened 600 years ago.
Right.
So why is it affecting me now? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Everything that you see, like if it's something that's 4 light years away, you're seeing it as it was 4 years ago,
Right.
not as it is today.
I only can go off of planets that are actually.
That is something also that really, like, as well as fascinates me, completely fucks with my head. It's the thought of when we see something happening in the sky, it's something that's already happened ages ago, because it's the amount because that's how long, because it's the fact that the light from that event has taken time to get from there to us. And when I learned that back in school, I was like, what? And it's still something that to this day somewhat mind boggles me. Because I was told, and I don't know, I can't remember if I was told, something in secondary school in science class, that apparently there's a planet, I can't remember where it was, but if you look in somewhere particular, there's a place where you can actually see dinosaurs reflecting off of somewhere. You can see it was the image of our planet when dinosaurs were here reflecting back off another planet somewhere else, I think, or something like that. And that was just like, what? I could not get my head around it, but they mentioned that there, and I just needed to mention that because that is something that, even though I somewhat understand it, it just still mind boggles me to this day.
Actually, like in orbit, like the moon, the sun, our basic planets, including Pluto. Those are the only things that I really focus on.
So let's just go back to Mars and say Venus, right? Because Mars has all these like really rough and angry qualities or whatever.
You're learning. You guys are learning.
Yes. And Venus has all these beautiful, calm and peaceful qualities. But what if I were to tell you that if you were to go into Venus and sit there, you wouldn't even make it because the pressure would just destroy you. So how is that peaceful? And you know, like what is that like? Where does this come from?
There are no good and bad planets. I just want to let there's a highest expression and there's a lowest expression. Mars is not evil. It can represent aggression. It can represent anger. It can also represent action and motivation. Venus is yet love, relationships, beauty. It can also be manipulation. Like there's no, oh, this is a bad planet, this is a good planet. Like there's levels here, there's duality, there's highest expression, there's low, I just wanted to, cause like, me and the planets, like they're my people, so like we just got, you know, let's.
I believe in zodiac signs and their predictions.
Uh, no, not really. I won't lie. Like, I've read zodiac signs before, and like zodiac predictions and stuff, whatever. And I've seen the ones that do correlate to me in some ways, but like, I've never taken anything seriously with it. I'm just been like, okay, that's kind of interesting. It's kind of different, but nah, yeah. No, I don't, no.
I definitely do believe in zodiac signs and their predictions and what they could bring. And it all depends on how you're tracking the energy, how you're also communicating whatever it is that you can get from the energy to a client. That's basically what my job is as an interpretive astrologer, is to break down what I see on the chart and to communicate it in a way that you would understand.
I just was hesitant about coming up with predictions because it's the word predictions. I'm not of the belief that astrology is necessarily a science, because I don't consider myself a scientist, and astrology is such an interpretive practice that using astrology as a predictive tool sometimes does more harm than good. It can create a lot of anxiety, and sometimes it is inaccurate. You're going to get human error in some sort of interpretations.
I have a lot of friends and a lot of people around me who believe in astrology. But my thing is, I've had so many of them be like, what's your star sign? So I always tell them, well, guess, what do you think I am? And then it always ends up being wrong, or I'll finally tell them afterwards, and I'll be like, I'm this. And they're like, that's so Virgo of you. That doesn't make sense to me. So that's why I don't personally believe in those star signs. I know that you guys discussed that, but that's why I don't disagree with what you guys said. But that's why I disagree with the prompt that was read out.
With sun star astrology or sun sign astrology, that's where it can get carried away. It's actually the rising that's most important, because that starts your chart.
What the sun represents is our own sense of self. And when you first meet someone at a party, how much are you going to be able to know off the bat from your first impression of them what their sense of self is?
Exactly.
What I think is that because we live in a world where we don't know people at all, if you have a way to be able to somehow describe who this person is when you just first meet them, it makes you feel safe. And that's why I feel like, a lot of people take to astrology.
People, they think astrology puts them in a box. Like, oh, you're a Capricorn, this is the only way you can behave, this is the only way you can act. It's like, no. Astrology is very much about the possibilities, not necessarily this is what you are, this is what you do, this is how you act, I don't like you. No, it's just this is what could possibly happen, this is the expression you could possibly take.
Would you say that everyone has, all possibilities are available for everybody?
Yes.
Well,
and to a certain extent, even if you are, say, a Virgo sun, your Virgo sun could be affected by a certain relationship with, say, Mars. So it's not like you're just this and you can only be this. It's like, no, you've got this, you've got a sprinkle of something of this. People don't like me putting in boxes, which makes sense, but that's totally not what I don't think what we're doing.
It does, though, kind of sound like you're still compartmentalizing
well,
things.
To the point of there's 7 billion, 8 billion people in the world. How can you categorize them in these boxes? But the deeper that you go into astrology, the more nuanced it gets and the more personalized it gets.
the other side doesn't fully understand the study of celestial objects.
No idea.
I'm so of two minds about this. You guys are doing something that's very scientific and practical in what you're studying. But just because something isn't practical or scientific, you can still study religion, you can still study the Bible, the Torah. I don't even think it should necessarily be equated to your study.
For like astronomy, like there's scientific rigor into how we understand and how we know what we know now. You know, standing on the shoulders of giants, all the people who have studied it before us, and now we know, and we can prove what they've studied is correct. It's very like, factual?
I'm, from my point of view as an astrologer, like, I'm like, yeah, no, things are definitely factual based, and like astrologers sat down and they've come to a common consensus of what things mean based off of where they're placed, what energies are placed on them. That's what gives them more of the component of what the planet may mean.
I think, again, that's where the divide is, because when you guys could think certain things are fact, but I hear you keep bringing up that it's interpretation. So there's so many things going on way far away that we know about that, like you said, you don't really have the necessity to know about. I think that there's a lot of stuff that you guys interpret that we've disproven in a way, or that we've seen evidence for just going completely against it, negating your guys' points. So I think that's kind of where that divide kind of comes from.
1 is the loneliest number. Yeah, I would never sit here and say that, you know, like, you don't know what you're talking about. But also, like, I don't think you can fully understand anything. I think you can go to school, I think you can do the work, I think you can have a very good grasp on something, but you can never fully, like, we're talking about the stars and the universe and the planets here. You can't fully understand nothing in regards to that. You read the stars, you read the cosmos, you understand all of the sciencey things. You said Beetlejuice, I was like, the character? Is he here right now? For me as an astrologer, I study the stars, yes, but I also study people. My job is to work with someone one-to-one. I'm showing you what I see, but I'm also showing you what I see from you as a person.
Would you say astrology is more along the lines of like human psychology?
Psychology, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Depending on the system that you are studying.
Yeah, definitely.
It kind of means like that what astrology is like for fulfillment in terms of what benefits humankind. I mean, physics, astronomy literally brings us, you know, cell phones. That's practical. But we also, as human beings, like to have things like art, for example, music. I need music. If I didn't have music, then I might, you know. So it's kind of like there's a fulfillment thing. And I get that.
My belief is that balance is extremely important. And the way I see it, like logic and science and all of these things are one end of a spectrum. Like, to get a little spiritual, it's like yang energy. And we're representing, in my opinion, a bit more of the yin energy, the human element. And I think that it's also important to do what you can on a person-to-person basis, and that will help humanity.
All right, great. Thank you so much, and that's a wrap.
We didn't kill each other!
Oh, that definitely concludes the recording for today. No more videos. Oh man. Good video. I think at the end of that it was I think that's definitely a thing of personal belief, so I think definitely, but yeah. Good video. I don't really have any closing thoughts on that, other than it was good and some of those good points made. Nice. So on that note, I'm gonna end this video here. So thank you all so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please leave a like, leave a comment, and remember, middle ground was applied to the comment section. No belittling or anything, just civil argument. That's just civil argument and be respectful of everyone's points of views. Also consider subscribing to my channel, Sergeant Beckett. If you'd like, in the description of the video there's a link to my link tree. On the link tree you can find links to other places where on the internet where I also am and where I also do stuff as well. But thank you all again for watching. I shall see you all in the next video. Adios.